Hello everyone, it is John, and I'm still trying to get this waffle right. I've got to stop talking about some things, I think, so I'm going to leave them well and truly alone. Saturday was the barbecue game day, board game barbecue game day. Yes, and sadly it was shut down, cut short. Yes, we're currently in a 3-day lockdown, which I suspect will go longer, but I won't go into my unhappiness there because that's what's made me do this about 6 times so far. But yeah, we got notified at about, I think, 11 o'clock on the Saturday and telling everybody you must be home and locked in your home by 4 o'clock. And of course, quite a lot of people had turned up for the game day, and sadly, to the event organisers, I extend my heartfelt condolences for having to cancel and shut shop early. Because look, I've run many events over my life, and been involved with quite a few conventions. So I know a lot of work goes into putting together games and game days, games, events, tournaments, that sort of thing. So, there's nothing worse than having something you put your heart and soul into running being cut short. So I'm hoping that the next one won't have any restrictions. I hope not. I hope it's in a better venue. I hope it's not at the same one again. But that's just me. So anyway, that's what happened on Saturday, and as I said, we're in a 3-day lockdown, which I suspect will continue. My wife and I are getting our jabs. I've had my first jab. My wife's about to get her jab next Wednesday, and I'm assuming if we're still in lockdown, that's apparently one of the 4 reasons that we're allowed out of our house is to go get a needle. So so she's off. We'll be going to get that, and that will be So I've had no adverse effects to getting the jab. So that's the only adverse effect I've had, is wearing a bloody mask. So that's been the only thing that's really annoyed me. But previous weekend, I got to play, a friend of mine, and it'll be up. There's going to be an unboxing. It's Happy Little Dinosaurs. Now I'm going to get on to things that are far more entertaining than the drivel that affects my life. Is Happy Little Dinosaurs, and this is a delightful, well, shall we call it beer and pretzels? It's certainly not a shall we call it a highbrow tactical card game. Oh, it can be, I suppose, but it's meant to be light entertainment, and that's how I would play the game. And I thoroughly enjoyed it. So much so that I asked my good friends Mark and Fiona, who own Games World Carindale at Cabalaba and Carindale. Yes, I had to think about that. Oh, God, it's dreadful, isn't it? By the way, I gain no monetary value out of mentioning them. They happen to be good friends. I've known them, I think, all the time that they have had their shop at Carindale. Yes. And I've forgotten how long it has been. So quite a long time I have known them, and I have done business with them. So yes, I get no monetary gain out of supporting them, as I have supported so many other businesses that I have that I've known over the years, like the Emperor's Legion and War Games Warehouse, and I think, what was the other one? There was a comic shop called Fats Comics, and a number of businesses that I've known. I also support the Macrobat Bookshop, who I will now talk about, because I went and visited them also this week, because my son lent me his car to be able to go get myself my jab, because it was out at Rockley Showgrounds, which meant that there's no public transport out there from my location to get there. So there's, you know, they say, oh, we put them in a central location for people to be able to get to. Well, honestly, they'd have been better to have stuck it at the bloody QE2 stadium than to have stuck it at out at the showground. But oh well. Anyway, that's me being grumpy. Me being grumpy and saying, look, put things where people can actually get to them. But look, when I was at the bookshop run by my good friend Cindy, they had these. Who can remember Primeval? I loved this show when it came out. It was so they had these. The two of these are in hardcover, which are these two, and then there were these which are in the softer. And as soon as I saw them, I thought, oh God, I've got to have these. I've got to have them. They've got to be added to my collection, because it's like all things which lead to certain TV shows that I particularly like. So I've got those. I've got some old ones for Buck Rogers. I've got some for what was another one? There was one for the TV show for Flash Gordon. Some for Flash Gordon. I've been hunting around for a lot of them. I've got the Doctor Who, but only for the original series of Doctor Who. I don't fancy the current Doctor Who at all. Sorry, up until David Tennant. David Tennant, I enjoyed his stewardship of the Doctor. I thought he was marvellous, as was it David Eccleston? Yes, David Eccleston I thought was really, really good. You know, I thought bringing him, and then David Tennant was marvellous. I really enjoyed those two. But as for the rest, it's and as for the current incarnation, I shall not speak a word, lest I attract hate mail. So, but yes, I got the many of the Target books for the Doctor Who TV series. So most of those were written by Terence Dicks. Oh, geez, my memory's actually working, I think, today. Begin to remember things. But yeah, so that was my dash down to the second-hand bookstore, because I've just about, I think, looted everything of real value there now. Because whenever I go in, you know, I've usually got, you know, I get a lot of audio books and e-Kindle stuff now, because you know, I'm always looking for something new and different to read, and of course it's generally new stuff that's coming out now. So I'm always saying to Cindy, I said, oh look, have you got this, have you seen this, is this good? No. So I don't think she's impressed with me looking for new titles, because she's sadly not. And of course Australia is dreadful for getting anything new in, because we're at the arse end of the world. And I think maybe if we were Sydney or Melbourne, we might be different. We would probably have a better range, perhaps, of books coming in, but certainly not here in, as they like to call us, backwards Brisbane, which I'm quite happy if they think that we're backwards, because we still produce the best people. So what else has been happening? I guess with the lockdown and everything, very few games to play. I've got a lot of games that play solo, but look, to be quite honest, I'm not finding a lot of satisfaction in playing solo games these days. And I am spending my time going back and looking at... sorry, I'm just moving some stuff around. I'm looking back at my Call of Cthulhu. I was talking to my gaming group, and they were, you know, saying, "Oh, look, this is what I'm doing, filling my time in." But I'm looking at Brisbane in the 1920s, and it's mainly for me. It's doing a lot of filling my time in with research and trying to find, for instance, street directories, and trying to find this information online. And there's certain certain documents and that are available, but a lot of it's, I guess you'd like to call it perhaps pay for view, or join. Who was one of them? I can't remember what it was. Somebody.com, and it's got to join up, and I hate having to join up just to be able to access. And but as people say, oh well, this is the way things are today. But I'm thinking, well, public records should be available to the public. And I found eventually through the Queensland State Government there were some archive material that was available, but it's fairly substandard documents. They're not very clear, which is probably why they've made them available. I guess is that if you want better documents, maybe you've got to come in and access the services. Maybe I'm just talking out my arse again. Maybe I've got to actually make the trip in. But you see, this is it, is that if you need to access those services, you've got to go into whatever, I've perhaps got to go into the State Library and see how I can access that material, and see whether or not, like with everything there these days, the state government like to put a charge on everything now to access information, and it's sad that that so much public information now isn't quite as accessible as perhaps it should be. But I've found enough information at the moment. I've found some street directories from between the 1920s and 1930s. So obviously in a 10-year period there is obviously going to be some discrepancies. But considering that, this is a work of fiction that I'm working on, I'm allowed obviously a fair bit of artistic license. I found the parish records, and I guess the the deeds, not deeds, but like census data relating to allotments allocated to people. So in other words, it'll show these are the allotments within the parish of such and such, and here's the person's name on the actual allotment. So it's really good in the fact that that gives me a lot of names that I can use within adventures and stuff, and I tend to run things on a historical basis. So there will be my games will be fairly much rooted in the period. So there'll be a lot of, it is fairly Anglo-centric Brisbane, which is what it is. So it'll be interesting. It's interesting, because I've still yet to look at what the politics in Brisbane was back in the 1920s. So that's the next thing I've got to have a look at is, who were the major political parties in Brisbane at the time. So that's some of the things that I need to have a look at. What power bases were there, what societies were currently in operation. I certainly know from my own family, they have their memories of who was who in the zoo and who had power. But like with all families, you have your own interpretation of how things were viewed. So it'll be interesting to have a look. And and of course the biggest difference with the 1920s compared to today is that we were still using English currency. So it means that there is a big difference, because everybody today is so used to decimalisation, trying to get people to go, it's 3 and 6pence, and people look at you and go, what? Hey, I've got £2 on me. How much change do I get? And you think, I can rip these people off. But of course, you take into account that a native Australian or a person from the Commonwealth would have known the currency very, very well. You know, they would not have been shortchanged with regards to currency. So it's only those of us today who aren't that familiar with pounds, shilling, and pence that would have that would be confused. But yeah, so that's that. The other thing I found was I was thinking about going back and looking at my book. Started writing a book ages ago, and it's about 60,000 words that I'd cobbled together. And that was really just more or less the opening chapters. Hadn't gotten very far at all. I'm still should go back and finish that. But like with everything, I sadly need a decent computer is what I need. And again, I need access to proper research materials, because I am finding that is half the battle with being a writer these days, is being able to access a lot of the material that you need. And I'm really not putting a lot of faith in the internet for finding accurate, shall we say, information. And trying to get to the libraries are, particularly at the moment, is fairly difficult, because obviously with lockdowns, libraries shut down, and trying to access material is problematic. But I suppose if I go and investigate, maybe there's different ways to access material while the lockdowns do continue. But it's not as easy as being able to just go into the library, look at the shelf, look at the book, skim through it and say, no, that book's not what I want. Rather than, you know, you read a précis on the back and go, oh yeah, that might be the information I want. You get the book sent to you, and then you find out, well, that book's absolute rubbish. I don't want, you know, it's of no use to me at all. And, you know, by the time you get it, you wait, I don't know, maybe 2 or 3 days for it to come in the post. You get it, you find it's no use, you send it back. You're then looking for another book. You know, your days tick by, you know, a couple of months could be gone before you find that you've got the book you want, where compared to just walking into a library or going to a state archive, you can find the material you're actually wanting. But again, I suppose no different from anything. But it's me being a grumpy old man again, isn't it? Shocking. But yes, and I suppose the only other thing, oh God, that was one of the books. Yes, I was wondering, what did I stick this down here for? It was another one of these wonderful little books that I picked up in the second-hand bookshop for a couple of dollars. Was this a dictionary of Australian colloquialisms, which is really good, because you can, you know, you're trying to find things that are sort of contemporary to the day for the 1920s. And see, I found, doing some search online, plenty of books dealing with American colloquialisms for the 1920s, but they don't translate. Australians didn't use American slang or that. And if anything, we were closer, probably still closer to Great Britain than we were to anyone else. And so we would have still used many British, Welsh, Scots, Irish slang, colloquialisms, as well as some Australian terms that were colloquialisms that were starting to appear. So yes, we were a bit of a mongrel country in many words. But yeah. All right, I've raved on for nearly 20 minutes. Will my little man, hey little man, you going to come say goodbye? Oh, he's digging in. He's going, no, Dad, I don't wish to say goodbye. Oh, come on. Come on, we go say hello and goodbye to everybody. He says, look, can you not see that this is a sleepy face? He says, Dad, he said, I was having such a wonderful sleep, and then you woke me up. Doesn't he look like a womble? No? Nobody can... Who can remember the Wombles? Oh, sorry, it's an English show. But yes, the Wombles. Used to sing it to my wife because she didn't like the song. Underground, overground, wombling free, the wombles of Wimbledon common are we. Now, I'll stop there. I'm not very good at singing. So I have been told. Oh dear, he's a sook too now. But yes, anyway, look, thank you everyone for listening to my waffle, the first waffle for August. And I shall catch up with you next time. So signing off, the Honourable John.